You want to hop pretty quickly
Yep.
into the episode reviews? I've got thoughts.
Yeah, we can do all. I think more of our show is going to be thoughts than rundown of the episodes.
Love that.
So we can do all the thoughts first and then the rundowns afterwards
Love that.
because I think we are going to disagree with
Some folk.
some folk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see
Hi, YouTube land.
YouTube.
1,000 people immediately logged in
Boom, boom, boom.
to watch our feed. They
And
said
they're all named Kyle.
every single one of them. Every one.
It said experiencing interruptions. Find out why.
Oh no, we don't want interruptions.
No.
What exactly is
I
experiencing
don't know.
interruptions?
I think it's my phone dropped the
Oh,
Wi-Fi.
the Wi-Fi. Not the Wi-Fi.
Let's see if you can get. Oh, there we go. All right.
The Wi-Fi.
Live.
Live. We are going to do it live. Hi, YouTube. Hey, it sounds like we're doing the thing. 1,000 people immediately logged in.
Perfect. All right. Sounds good to me. Okay. Okay.
Back it up, back it in. Let me begin.
That was pretty funny.
I thought so. Glad you did too.
All right. Are you ready, my friend?
If I were any more ready, I'd be singing a song about one,
Pack it up, pack it in.
two, and many.
On this episode of Bantha Milk Podcast, Star Wars canon is dead.
The power of one.
The power of two.
The
Power of many.
Intro music. Hunting is a complicated profession.
I like how you harmonized out of tune with me.
Yeah.
Because since I was out of tune, you tried to like harmonize with
Oh
me.
no! There was much intention in the way I performed.
Okay.
Yeah, I performed that exactly how I wanted
How
it
you
to
wanted
sound.
to? Okay. Well, thank you
It
for
was, yeah. There was. If you read between the lines, there was some subtext.
some
There.
subtext in
But,
there.
yeah.
I just want to let you know. I don't know if this is new or it's just the first time that I saw it, but at the bottom of Audacity it says disk space remaining for recording. 251 hours and 23 minutes. So we have to keep this short.
we gotta keep this.
Yeah,
Yeah, gotta
keep
give
this
it a
episode
tight
short.
episode because we don't
Tight
want to.
episode.
We don't want to run the risk of running out of our memory
No,
over there.
let's not run out of memory.
Hello.
Hello.
This is Nick and Robert, and that's Robert.
I'm Robert.
Nick.
That's Nicholas.
And we are here with Bantha Milk Podcast. Rob is glowing. He just got back from his retreat to south of the border.
South of the border to the Dominican Republic.
He soaked up the sun.
I did.
Doo-doo. And
Here comes
he's
the
all rested
sun.
up. How was your trip?
It was a wonderful trip. I highly recommend if anybody likes to go to all-inclusive places and beautiful tropical resorts, the Dominican Republic is the place to go.
Cool.
So I would highly recommend it. We stayed at a place called Mystic Colonial was the name of our hotel. It was a very nice hotel. 5 different restaurants. 2 of them you had to make reservations for.
Okay.
One of them you had to dress nicer than all the rest.
And how many of the staff were dressed as stormtroopers?
All of them. It
Thank
was
goodness.
great. Yes, it
Can
was
you
a
imagine
Star
just
Wars
a all-inclusive Caribbean resort? You're out on the in the beach, like on the beach, and like a stormtrooper walks up to you to give you your drink.
Yeah, like sand troopers or other. I mean, it was
really
87 degrees and 99% humidity. So those poor guys, yeah, dressed in there.
One day in the future, when we have better technology, we'll get those suits air conditioned.
Yes,
and I'll open that up,
and then you can do it. It'll be amazing.
And people would come.
And people would come.
I wouldn't charge $5,000 for 2 nights.
No, and they would enjoy it very much so. But yeah, it was really nice. It was a very long resort. And then right in the middle of it was, they called it a lazy river, but the catch is it doesn't actually flow anywhere.
It's just a long pool.
It's just a very long pool that looks like a river.
Right, but it's not.
But it doesn't, yeah.
That's okay. When I went to Mexico with my family, they had what was essentially that, just a long like channel of pools.
Yeah.
And after, the 4th or 5th with my family in the morning, of course, on
at 9 a.m.
yeah, we would then take to wandering the canals of the place, and my mother would be a loud American and to meet people, and so just but yeah, not
Yeah.
quite a lazy river. I
No,
understand.
no, it was a very nice river. And the beach was gorgeous. When we went to Mexico a couple years back, our beach was just covered in seaweed the whole time. So you couldn't even like enjoy the beach.
Yeah.
This beach, nice and clear. The water was a very good turquoise color, very nice and clear. You could go out. We were out 20, 30 feet out, and you didn't even have to rent. You could just borrow snorkels and masks and swim around out there. You could see a whole bunch of little fish. I'm pretty sure I saw all of Nemo's cage,
Nice.
Finding Nemo's fish tank,
Cool.
all swimming in their
All of
natural
them, yeah,
habitat.
sure.
Yeah.
That's
So
pretty
it was
rad.
nice that they brought all them in for us to look at, which is
Sure.
very nice.
Yeah, it's
Um,
that probably cost them a good bit.
Yeah.
Disney doesn't skimp on that sort of
No,
stuff.
well, this wasn't Disney, so
No, but
yeah.
they would have to
Oh yeah,
buy
they had to
officially
buy it from
licensed
Disney.
products
Yes,
from Disney. I'm
yeah,
sure
oh,
there's
yeah,
a whole
100%.
there's a whole subcontracting thing there. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was, and naming them Dory and stuff. It was,
Oh yeah, then
yeah.
it's not like
The actors had to get
Dorai
paid.
or,
No,
it's
yeah,
not like the Temu version of
right.
I've heard people say it's Temu and not Timu.
Yeah, the Super Bowl commercial
It said
said
Temu,
Temu,
right?
yeah. So I was very shocked at that but whatever.
Anyway, so
Anyway,
Rob had
so
a
yeah,
great
so it was
time.
a great time.
Not very Star Wars themed, but you can
No.
have fun without it,
Yes.
apparently, which is great because I didn't have a lot of fun with some of the Star Wars stuff that came out this week. Anyway, we are here to discuss episodes 3 and episode 4 of the Acolyte. We are halfway through the first
halfway
season.
through the first season.
And there's what are we drinking?
Oh yeah. So first, because we need to drink to talk about
Yeah.
this episode. We had the last couple of beers from Adam, who sent us the beers. I am drinking the Loth Wolf Voyage IPA, and you have a Hefeweizen in there.
Hefeweizen, yeah. Can I get your
Yep.
opener?
It doesn't. None of these say Hefeweizen.
No, it says Heffa on it.
Dark Side Imperial Stout. Inside the Uneti Tree Weizen. There we go. That's your Weizen.
That's the one right there.
Yes.
Okay, inside the Uneti
Bottle
Tree
labeled
Weizen.
Heffa. There you go.
There it is.
Inside the Unity Tree. Which one's the Unity Tree? Is that the
that I believe that's the tree that was in the Jedi Temple.
Okay.
It grew there. I could be wrong on that, but there was a force sensitive tree that grew in the Jedi Temple.
Oh, is that the one that was in the books that the animals the animals didn't hang from that.
Well, the thing with the Uneti tree, I think I seem to remember of is that Luke found a clipping of it later on and was able to replant it or something.
Okay, then that's I'm thinking of one of the John Jackson Miller books with the animals that were force that could drain the force from you.
The Drengir. Yes. That's the Drengir. Yeah. So the Uneti tree was an incredibly rare species of long-lived, mildly force-sensitive tree that grew on the planet Octo. The ancient library, which was built to hold the founding texts of the Jedi Order. I do believe there was, the great tree which grew at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant was also a Uneti tree, one that possessed a strong connection to the Force. The tree was said to have come from seeds from the very first Jedi Temple.
There you go.
This is happening for the last 3 days.
So if I the opener.
Sure. If I pass out, that was a bad throw.
Okay.
Bear with me, but my eye has just started twitching randomly. Is that a thing?
It is a thing. I've had that happen to me before.
It's just it never happens, and now it's happening.
Now
all
it's
the
happening.
time, and it's frustrating me.
It is
Anyway,
frustrating.
so I've got my Hefeweizen here, based on the Uneti tree. And what's yours called again?
Mine's the IPA, the Loth Wolf Voyage IPA.
I like that.
Yes.
I love me a good Loth Wolf.
I can smell it already. It smells delicious.
Yeah, you're a big IPA guy.
Yes.
You like your IPAs.
I like my IPAs.
So this is my Hefeweizen. I like Hefeweizens usually. They're a nice, refreshing, lighter beer usually. So look at this. You got some good head on that one too.
Got a good pour there. Yeah.
Look at that. All right. Cheers.
I'm surprised. L'chaim. Cheers.
L'chaim.
I thought mine. I like the color of yours. Yours looks nice and cloudy, like a
nice
Heffa.
Cloudy amber. Oh, that's nice. That is very nice, actually.
And this is a traditional IPA as opposed to the cloudy IPAs. What the heck are they called? The
India Pale Ale is what they're actually called.
Yeah,
That's
but then they have
one.
the cloudy ones. The New England IPAs are cloudy.
Is that like the red or the white with the clam chowder?
Clam chowder. Yeah.
Is that the red or the white? All right. What do you think, man? Good stuff.
Good stuff. Very hoppy.
Hoppy.
Yes. Which is what an
I hear they
IPA does.
recently added more hops to it.
More hops. Put some more hops in there.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is not hoppy.
No. Hefes are not supposed to be
No, that
hoppy,
is a
so
delight.
that's good.
All right. So
All
so
right.
you got yourself a nice Loth Wolf IPA
I got
there.
a nice Loth Wolf, and you have a good Hefe from the tree, Ugandi tree.
Yeah, and I just need to take one sip of this before we get into this conversation.
I understand.
Wow. Okay. So that was a swig of whiskey. Do we want to talk about our social medias before we get into this?
Yeah, you talk about the social medias while I go through the Google alerts and try and figure out if there's any good news out there, because
there's not
everybody's
much
just
good
negative.
news. I'll
They're
tell
all
you that.
negative. Yeah.
We are on social media. We are everywhere.
Everywhere.
Go check us out on Instagram. On I guess we're not everywhere because we're not on X anymore. But we're at is it Bantha Milk Podcast on Instagram. Find our Facebook group at Sacred Jedi Texts
Or Bantha Milk
or
Podcast.
Bantha Milk Podcast, right? Just if you don't want to go to that group, but if you can join the conversation at our group.
Mm-hmm.
Also check out our buddies over at the Ears Up Network, Puny Pod and Supreme Resort, and a couple other dudes.
Supreme Resort, the Sacred Jedi Texts.
That's us.
Or that's us.
Yeah.
And what about Sacred Jedi Text?
Oh, Sacred. Yeah, them too.
Them too? Yeah,
Okay.
check them out.
Check
yeah.
out Sacred Jedi Text.
Or
It's on
Scraping
Facebook.
the Vault, one or the other.
Vaulting the Scrape.
Yeah, and then Ears Up, the main show as well. Check all them out as well.
Yeah, bro.
They have been doing good stuff. Anyway, so that's all of our
Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Oh, we're gonna get a DCMA strike.
All right, so first article today: Disney forced to reveal unequal pay on Star Wars show The Acolyte. This is from Forbes, so I would say this is a legitimate story.
Sure.
Documents filed by Disney have revealed that its latest Star Wars spin-off series, The Acolyte, isn't actually a force for equality, despite famously featuring a female-centric cast.
Famously featuring a female-centric cast.
Easy
That's
for
hard
you to
say,
say,
yeah,
yes.
right.
According to the filings in early April last year, when production of the streaming service was still in full swing, just 30% of the 695 employees were female across the entire workforce. Women's average hourly pay was 19.4% lower than men's. If you want,
Are you trying to tell me that Disney has unfair business practices within their ranks? That
strange,
shocking to me.
Shocking. The next articles, 2 articles in a row about when Acolyte Episode 5 will be released on Disney Plus.
Because apparently we don't know.
We don't know. It's the same time.
Oh,
Tuesdays, 9:00 Eastern, 6:00 Pacific. I don't understand why we needed a whole article about that. And of course, I read it to find out if it was different. It's not.
But that's how they got your click.
Yep, that's what they did. The Lawton Constitution. Do we want to even read this? The Acolyte, A New Hope for Star Wars Future Styles. Whatever.
No, thank you.
Andor Season 2 may already be doomed after the Acolyte's atrocious. This is from IMDb. Disney's disastrous Star Wars error. Andor is considered to be one of the best entries in the Star Wars franchise, especially on the streaming side. But because of the Acolyte, everybody's already doomed after the Acolyte's atrocious reviews reveals Disney's disastrous Star Wars error. Do you think that Rogue One or Andor Season 2 will be affected by this show?
I don't.
I don't think so either.
I don't. I hope some things are affected by this show. But I don't think those things will, because those are the ones that have worked.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
I wonder if people listening can tell my thoughts about the most recent episodes yet. I wonder if I'm projecting it all.
Not yet. Young Jedi Adventure Season 2 streaming release date. This is more important for you.
It really isn't. I tried.
She doesn't like it.
She just won't get, like, I put it on. I've been like, look, Vanjie, it's Star Wars. It's colorful. They've got lightsabers. Hey,
they got fun lightsabers. They're all cute,
and
cartoony.
She's mostly
looking.
just pissed I turned Bluey off.
She's like, no, Bluey.
For real.
Bluey.
Which, I mean, I get.
Yeah.
I do.
There was a thing that said every generation needs a blue dog. It was Bluey, and then Blue's Clues.
That's
and
right.
then from the 70s,
Clifford?
Hanna-Barbera. No, Clifford was red.
Blue
Hanna-Barbera
dog, right.
had a blue dog.
That's
in
right.
Hanna-Barbera. Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's very true. Young Jedi Adventures will release on August 14th. Star Wars descends into farce. News reveals top 3 most popular Star Wars shows. Okay, so that's it for today. All right, so let's get into this, because there's a lot of things. People on the internet are mad.
So, and I think I feel like I say this every episode now, which is a bummer. I don't want to say that, but I do consider us the lesser of the salty Star Wars fans. I mean,
Correct.
we like Star Wars. We will point out things that are inconsistent or wrong with it, but we're here sitting talking about it. There's a reason for that.
Right.
But there's a lot of people online throwing a lot of hate at the last couple episodes, and I sympathize with them because I agree, because they're terrible.
Okay.
Oh, I'm having a hard. It's just so okay.
So I heard a quote today,
It's so bad.
and I heard a quote today about a different show. He said he wasn't overwhelmed, he wasn't underwhelmed,
Was
he
he
was just whelmed.
Okay.
I think I'm just whelmed. I'm not underwhelmed yet.
So, and that is, I can get with that, because aside from episode 3 was, in my opinion, garbage. It was garbage television.
Because we got nowhere.
We got okay. So let's just start with my critique for episode 3 right now. And I got more frustrated about this too, because I saw just in my scrolling on TikTok some guy like come up and start talking about the most recent seasons, and he was like bringing up these facts that, like, the most recent episodes or whatever of the Acolyte has the season 1 episode 3 has like a 29% or something on Rotten Tomatoes for the audience score, but it has like a 75% for the critic score.
Right.
And he starts going into this whole like, well, there's something going on there, right? What's making it that? Is it because there's a female lead? Is it because there's a black female lead? And I just want to be like, no.
Right.
Like, yes, there are idiots out there who are going to yell about that anytime anyway.
Sure.
But that is not what the problem here is. And I like, it annoys me that that's part of the conversation right now, because episode 3 was so bad. Like, the acting, first of all, we've talked about good versus bad child actors on this podcast before. Those child actors were abysmal. And listen, and I'm a teacher. I get it.
Yeah.
But like, this is Hollywood, right? You should have auditions and accept the best. That these 2 were the best ones you had.
And
really.
The Stranger Thing kids, when season 1 started, they were all young
and yet
and amazing.
Yeah.
The Disney, they don't really do them anymore, but the Disney and even Nickelodeon TV shows that were all kid based, they weren't the most intellectual, easy for you to say, writing, but I felt like the kids could pull it off. And then we get to, for whatever reason, Disney or Star Wars kid actors, and it feels like since Jake Lloyd, they just, whoever the first kid who shows up, they say you're in. Like,
or else, like, the movie produce executives, like they've got a daughter and they made a backroom deal to have them or something. It's just never. Remember Haley Joel Osment when that was our boy? Like, he's Sixth Sense guy. That was a kid who could act.
Yeah.
But we were so shocked about him because there was such a dirge of good child actors too. But even again, I'm a teacher. I get it. Aside from put that away, kids, whatever. Every single witch in that coven was such a bad actor.
And
such a bad actor.
I also I see what they're trying to do with the Jedi. Everybody's complaining that the Jedi are all so bad, so robotic, so bland. Also, like the acting of all the Jedi. And I get what they're trying to do. I blame more the directors than I do the actors. Because the directors had to have told everybody, play this straight, play this.
The monk, the peacekeeper,
the just say your lines, no emotion, like you're a Buddhist monk, saying whatever. And then the witches were the same thing. It was like, should we let them in? No, we're not going to let them in. Like, just very boring. Also,
and we could. I could spend days just tearing it apart. And I feel bad because I don't like doing that. But it's one of those things where Pagan and I were sitting next to each other. And at a certain point, we both just, without even, like, this is so bad. And
Yeah.
like, and then don't even get me started on the song. Like this, when the song started to happen, like I got angry, and I obviously I'm still angry, but like Pagan and I were sitting there like, this is so cringy. And so
Yeah.
like, and I get it, like they're leaning into the fantasy aspect because it is Star Wars, it's not sci-fi, it's fantasy, and you can do that without it being bad.
Mhm.
Like, and like when every now and then one of the witches would just start cackling, it's like, give me a, like, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It was so you know, all the lore stuff aside that people have complained about, that like I wouldn't have cared if it was at least well acted and well
Right.
directed, and like I don't know, so it was a episode 3 in particular was very frustrating for me. We really didn't learn much. I'm imagining we're going to go back to a another, I think next episode they've already dropped some hints that we're going to get another flashback of that scene and see kind of really what happened, because we didn't really see what happened.
Right. So
But
here's my thing. I don't want to say it's I don't like this writing style where we see present day, we have lots of confusion about why people are angry in present day,
right,
and then 3/4 of the show is
we don't find out
flashbacks.
how. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I'd rather just tell the story from the beginning.
right,
Like, do we need these flashbacks? And I don't know. To me, it's kind of like it's not like shock writing because it's not shocking at
right.
all.
Yeah.
But it's
So
like
it's a big necessary part of that.
yeah, yeah. But like the idea is, oh, why is she being arrested? Oh, let's go and find out who. Oh, she has a twin sister. Oh, now we see how the twin sisters, uh, why they both think that the other one is dead. Oh, now we're back in the present day. Oh, now we're back in the past again. Like, I get it. You need an A and a B storyline to keep it going,
Right.
but you need a better A and B storyline
Yep.
than what we're getting.
And then, aside from, I was very angry after episode 3. So I went into episode 4 angry and with low expectations. And episode 4 was fine.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint was that nothing happened, and
Mm-hmm.
then something happened, and just as something happened, we're done.
We're done.
Like,
Yeah.
like I was getting to the point where they had me interested, and then they
Yes.
showed the bad guy, and they did that thing that's like everything in
this
Star
is
Wars seems like it's a trailer for the next
for the
episode.
next episode. And I think that started with Marvel
Mm-hmm.
because no matter how good the movie was that you saw, you had to wait through all of the credits
Yep.
to see that 30-second clip of what the
Mm-hmm.
next movie was going to be
And then you wouldn't get that movie for another couple of years.
for a couple of years, but you left going, "Oh my god, I can't believe
Yeah.
Spider-Man is coming next."
Yeah.
You know, even though you just watched a 2.5-hour movie about Captain America,
Right.
you
But first of all, that was at the beginning of all this, so we weren't expecting all these movies. But also, number 2, that gave you years
yeah.
to get jazzed about a big announcement.
Mm-hmm.
This is giving us a week to think about a crappy,
A non
like
yeah.
it's not like we're getting these, oh my god, you're blowing my mind. And
Yeah.
I hate to use this comparison, but they're releasing at the same time as Game of Thrones, the new Game of Thrones series, and it's just sad watching
Yeah.
them both at the same time
Yeah.
because the difference in quality
Uh-huh.
is incredible.
And like you want to just focus all your attention on one.
And I'll tell you, I am way more invested in House of the Dragon than I
Yeah.
am in the
Yeah.
Acolyte right now.
It's because
so
it's way
much,
more entertaining, unfortunately.
it's way more
for
entertaining.
a Star Wars podcast.
It's way better acted.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The story is interesting and intriguing, and the episodes are more than 28 minutes long.
Yeah. With a 15-minute credit run
Yeah.
at the end in 7 different languages.
And I like people keep touting like, oh, this Star Wars has this insane budget. It's like, okay,
where are you using it?
yeah, like
Yeah.
if the story sucks, I don't care what you spent the money on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm
And then
bummed.
going back to episode 3, before we dive deeper into episode 4, then there was all the hatred,
Yes.
which the hatred about bad writing and bad acting is one thing. The hatred about Star Wars is now gay. There's
And woke
lesbians.
and
It's
yeah.
woke Disney with this, that, whatever. like the more you think about it, we've had covens of witches in hundreds of different stories, not
Yep,
just
that's
Star
it's
Wars.
nothing new. Yeah,
This is nothing new. Like you didn't, and honestly, I never really thought about it, but now that they're making it a thing in Star Wars,
right.
it makes sense.
Like if they made this like all female race of like, I don't know, gladiator war, but even that is like we've got the Amazons as like a,
Yeah,
but like you know what I mean. Like if they took like something and shoehorned it in, that'd be one thing. But like coven of all female witches, that's hundreds of years old. That trope, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like this
yeah.
is nothing
And
that's
and if you
new,
think about it, what would a coven of all women, if there's no men to be
right?
found,
How are they going to make more?
how are they going to make
Yeah,
more, how are they going to entertain themselves? Like obviously they're drawn to each other for a reason,
yeah.
and I don't care what the is it right wing, the guys we don't like, the Republicans, are they right wing?
I don't know.
I don't know, whatever, those guys use guys
Use
over there.
guys.
Like I have friends who are gay, and my one friend said, do you think I would choose
Yeah, this crap.
this crap? Would
Yeah,
I choose to be ridiculed, to be afraid to walk down the street
yeah,
holding my husband's hand? No, I wouldn't choose that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
right,
Like, so I don't care what you say. You can't send me to church to change my
right,
mind. It's in depth. It's in you.
right.
This is what you are, and I'm fine. I don't care.
Yeah,
You
but
know,
some people aren't
some people aren't
like
okay
the
with that.
internet.
Yes.
And again, that's part of the annoying thing that we have to just kind of learn to accept now is that with the internet, you'll never have none of that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like there will always be, and it's funny because I have completely, and I've noticed this about myself recently. I never read comments on anything on the internet. I read the
It's
content,
so
but I never
annoying.
read comments. And like Pagan was reading through some funny comments on like a thing, and I like people were bickering, and I found myself getting anxious just
Yeah.
listening. And I'm like, this is why I don't listen to these comments because a good 40% of them are probably earnest,
Hmm.
honest people trying to engage, and the other 60% is people trying to shout and people trolling
Yeah.
and spam and
Like somebody posted it in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. They painted their Mandalorian helmet with rainbow stripes, and he said, I got it all painted up now for the Pride Parade.
right,
And of course, the very first comment was something negative.
right,
And I was like, I just wrote back, I think it looks great.
right,
I'm proud for you. Enjoy it.
yep,
Like, why do, and I know it's the internet, and this society feels that the only way to be heard is by being negative. When you're nice, you just get pushed to the bottom of the pile, and then somebody will say something mean in your comments, and that's when it moves to the top again. But the only way to get any attention is to be mean. And I hate it. And I can't wait for hundreds of years from now when people look back on what we did with this power that we have just recently discovered,
right,
in the past 20 years, since the internet first started. And I can't wait for it to be, a history lesson on what not to do,
yep,
because it's a great line from Jurassic Park. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
right,
Just
yep,
because you can say mean things online doesn't mean you should.
yep.
Just keep them to yourself. Nobody cares.
Yeah, and it's one thing on like Reddit or something like that, but it's so funny. Facebook is such an interesting realm now because it was for a while just college students and stuff. Then everyone was on, and then it was just for old people,
Right.
and then now kids are getting on it again for whatever reason. Um, but when it's like Reddit or like whatever these online forums, you say like mean crap to people, and it's like I get why they do that because there's an anonymity there. But like I'm on my local like where I live, our
Yeah.
little neighborhood Facebook,
Neighborhood
and
Facebook
someone
group.
will post something, and like someone who is very easy to find, like I'll say, oh, like they live across the street,
Yeah.
and they just go at someone who lives two houses down for like such
For
ridiculous reasons,
ridiculous.
and I'm
Yeah.
like like you're typing this at a computer, but the person is like 700 feet away from you,
Yeah. Like
right?
they're
Like
in you're writing it in your
yeah,
neighborhood
you're
group.
you're gonna
Like,
walk by them
yeah.
someday. Like,
Yeah.
could we have a little perspective on this?
Mm-hmm.
So the internet is unfortunately turned into somewhat of a net negative
Yes.
for our society. That being said, there is hate that's just gonna be out there regardless of what we do. That doesn't mean all the hate that this has received has been unwarranted.
Right.
But
So
the hate should remain at the work and not at those who did the work. You know what I mean?
right.
Don't like it, whatever.
Yeah. And I
You can
mean,
say such and such didn't act well. That's fine too. But like, if you want to like, we see this all the time when like with like Rose Tico, that character is like, your character destroyed the like. Why are you giving this person hate about
yeah.
what their character did? Like
Or
they
even
just went to their job and acted
yeah.
in the best way they and the director wanted to act.
Like the guy who played Jar Jar Binks.
Right. Yeah.
And everybody was
Ahmed Best.
Ahmed Best. And everybody's like, oh, what a redemption arc for Ahmed Best. He didn't need the redemption arc.
We did.
We did.
Yeah,
We needed
it was our redemption.
It was
arc,
our
honestly.
redemption arc for us to say sorry to him because we were so mean to him because he was acting a part. He wasn't. He didn't write it. It wasn't his opinions on things.
Right.
He was just a dude in a green suit with a bunch of dots all over him, and everybody hated him personally, which is what is ridiculous.
Yep.
I'm looking in the run. So the rundown of episode 3 basically was a flashback to we found out how the girls were made.
Right. Apparently, and that's the one thing that people are talking about like breaking Star Wars lore. And
right.
I've seen and thought about this a little bit, and I like number one, everything else is such a train wreck. I think I just didn't care about this as much. But I've seen some arguments about the difference between this and Anakin's deal.
Yes.
Where and if you read Plagueis, the novel, they talk about how Anakin was created, and it wasn't like I want to create a baby, said Plagueis, and so he did. It was him and Palpatine doing a lot of crazy pushing boundaries and limits of dark side experiments that the Force like reacted to that and created Anakin versus these witches who purposefully, it looks like, set out to create these humans.
So they
created it, not the Force.
They using witch
the Force
spells and Force powers,
but the Force itself didn't spontaneously create this human.
So of course, that was the first thing people were going nuts about was now you destroyed Star Wars lore because it was said that Anakin is the only being ever created by the Force.
Right.
And then, of course, you get all the haters who are like, oh, unless it's by blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And, it's a confusing line in the sand to make. It's something that is confusing unless someone who has looked and dug into it explains it.
Yeah.
So that's not a great storytelling device. If you have to, if you have to outside of the show tell people, no, it's okay, and this is why, then it's probably not a very good piece of storytelling.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that means you have to tell the story with a disclaimer.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the warning on the box. Cigarettes may cause
cancer.
Yeah.
Colossian coffee hot.
Yeah.
So that is that's a really bad example because did you ever hear the real story behind the lady?
It's horrific.
It's horrific.
Poor woman,
because the coffee was hotter,
inordinately hot.
Yeah, hotter than it needed to be.
Right.
And B,
it caused so much damage to the poor woman.
Yeah, and she didn't even want to sue them over that. Right. She just wanted to get her medical bills taken care of. And McDonald's said no. So then she was forced to sue them to get money.
Right.
And then McDonald's lost. It became this big joke and whatever. But anyway, so what we have to discover on our own is how they were able to make a Force baby,
right,
as opposed to the Force making the babies.
Right.
So if you have to do all this extra research, like you said, then it's not really good storytelling because you're confusing people.
Yeah. And if you're making the Star Wars story for the people who know that, like us who are podcasting about it, great, make the rest of it better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but they're clearly aiming this at a mass appeal, like people who don't read the books and who don't, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what these things are supposed to be. But then you need to make sure we need to like spell things out.
Right.
People it needs to be clear because people aren't going to go, oh, this doesn't make sense, I should consult this book, and they're going to go, this is wrong and why, and this is bad, and they're going to go on the internet instead and complain.
Yeah. So this whole episode was the whole flashback episode.
Yes.
Um, to which at the end is when we find, right? Is that when we see that all the witches are dead at the end of this one?
Yes, and he goes to save them, and the one falls apparently.
Right. The bad one.
Not
So
May.
not
Well,
May.
No,
May
is the
falls. Yeah, May's the
evil
bad one. Yeah.
And what's the other one's name?
Uh,
May and Osha.
Osha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Osha's the
That's
one.
the same as a character from Game of Thrones.
Oh,
A
there
better
you
show. Anyway.
go. So also Osha is the only Jedi that can't use the Force.
Yeah, it's funny because she was going to be a Jedi, but then she, I guess, either quit or failed out. And then she tried to use the Force and like it didn't respond to her.
Yeah. So like in episode 1, we saw her when she was in jail trying to move the keys. She couldn't do it. In episode 3, we see her going through the trials and she couldn't do what she needed to do to go through the trials.
You mean when they're interviewing her?
Yes. Well, before that, when the two of them are going to be made into whatever, May could do what she needed to do and was able to. They started to give her the powers or whatever, but she had to do something force sensitive before that, and May was able to do it, and Osha wasn't.
Well, so we do see her use it because we saw at the beginning both of them were messing with that butterfly a little bit. Right, the very beginning of that episode, they were both screwing around with the butterfly.
Was Osha?
She was, because you do see her start, like she's manipulating it a little bit, and then all of a sudden it like goes rigid, and that's when we see May. So we do see her. I'll double check, but I'm almost positive we see them both kind of messing with it.
I think she was trying to mess with it, but she wasn't able to.
Maybe I'd have to double check, but I thought that's what I'd say. Either way,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because in my opinion, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking the whole time Osha hasn't been able to manipulate the Force at all, which is one of the reasons she didn't want to go through the trials.
But we do see it, like it's clear that she knows what's on the cards later, like when she.
True,
you know what I mean?
You're right.
And
she was
purposefully not telling the truth.
She was saying the wrong things on purpose, and then the guy said, "Oh no, this is an aardvark," and she says, "No, it's a spaceship." I mean, I don't know.
Right? Yeah, she like let her hand slip.
Okay, you're right. Okay, because I was thinking she wasn't able to do anything Force related at all, but
but we've also, a lot of Star Wars media recently has played with the idea of either cutting yourself off from the Force, or else, when it comes to like Sabine, people who like can't use the Force, learning how to. So I'm sure we're going to learn something, because we don't know anything about her training yet, except that she trained and she
left. Yeah.
So I'm sure, again, we have 2 more episodes this season, 4 more episodes this season.
4 more episodes.
I'm sure we'll figure out why she left. And
because she said at one point, "I left," and then who's the other guy with the hair was like, "Oh, you could tell he was alluding to she got kicked out."
Right.
And then she quickly cut him off and said, "I left because I didn't want to do this anymore," or whatever.
Yeah. And again, it's another part of this like drip drab storytelling you were talking about, where it's like, we know something happened, but we don't know what happened. And I bet we'll find out, and it'll be.
And every time we're about to find out, it's the end of the episode, and then we got to wait for another week.
Yep.
For it to be
which would be fine if
again.
if the 28 minutes beforehand was not boring.
Was not boring on top of it.
Or have a terrible song. The song.
Really, you love the song.
It was really hard.
As a musician, you should really. I think you should play that in your next gig.
I think I will.
I think you will. Great. And everybody will leave.
Yes.
Yes.
Play it right at the end. We're done now. Get out.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
And you won't want to.
And you won't want to, because we're gonna play this awesome song.
Right, let's pop into the next episode here.
So before we do that, I got a couple of things I want to show you. Let's do a commercial. We'll do a quick commercial break.
Let's do that
before we go to episode 4, because I know everybody's holding on to listen to how awesome episode 4 was. So we'll come right back. And we're back.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I don't know if I showed you this before. If I did, stop me and I will.
Stop.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Did I show you?
No.
My Empire Strikes Back album?
No, you did not. That's amazing.
Okay.
Is it signed by who?
So that's what makes it even more amazing. I've had this sitting behind me for a couple of months now.
How have I not noticed that?
When my son was doing his co-op at the Academy of Music, somebody came to perform there and signed. He was signing things. So Trey actually
Is that
had
John Williams?
It is John Williams.
Wow.
Trey had that album. That
This is
album is
incredible.
mine that I had from when I was a kid. And when he got into vinyl, I was like, oh, I have these couple of albums in the basement. So he took that one to school with him and he told me, yo, John Williams is coming and people are sending all kinds of stuff for him to sign. So I was like, well, take that Empire Strikes Back album. So he took the album and it says to Trey, best wishes, John Williams.
It sure does. That's awesome.
So I gave him a hard time because, of course, it says to Trey on it. He goes, I didn't tell him to say that or anything. So one of his coworkers put a post-it on it that said Trey because it was Trey brought it in.
Right.
So then John Williams signed Trey, best wishes, John Williams.
Oh, wow.
So
I guess Trey will have to get that in
so
in his will,
in his will. Yeah, I have to send it to. I have to make sure I gift it down
him.
to Trey.
Yeah.
Leave it to him. But yeah, so it's really, really cool that he was able to get that autograph for me from John Williams. John Williams.
You know what I found out yesterday? So I'm conducting in Moorestown, doing the pit for Fiddler on the Roof. I did not know that John Williams edited the music for Fiddler on the Roof, adapted it for the movie.
He played piano in it as well.
So I knew he had played piano in the original Broadway cast recording of West Side Story.
West Side Story.
But
okay.
I did not know about Fiddler.
I didn't know about Fiddler either.
Yeah, so Fiddler, he adapted the music from Broadway for the original motion picture.
So I don't know if you know, my kids are way into this person. I don't even know who she is, but her tagline is, I'm your favorite musician's favorite musician.
Right. Yeah, I've seen this. This is an internet thing.
Yeah. So we're our new tagline has to be, we're your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. Yeah. So my favorite podcast, Smart List, they just had John Williams
great.
on. Yeah.
They had John Williams. I've checked that out.
2 episodes ago, they had John Williams on. Yeah. So definitely check it out because they talked about not Fiddler, but they talked about West Side Story.
Yeah.
And how because Sean Sean Hayes is a big Broadway guy.
Not Sean Puffy Combs.
Not Sean Puffy Combs.
Different
guy.
That guy. He also did the music for the theme song for Gilligan's Island.
No way.
Oh yeah, if you look, it'll say in the credits, it calls him Johnny Williams because that was what he was called, I guess, at that point.
That's so funny.
Career. But yeah, that's him.
And the other thing I want to show you, another fun thing before we get into more deep stuff on episode 4. Have you gotten these yet?
Oh boy, have I.
Oh, okay.
Those are great. So not only have I, a student of mine have had those, and this particular student always gives me snacks and stuff. And they know I like Star Wars, so they were slipping me them. And then I bought them myself, and then the student graduated and got me a whole box. So I have a lot of them right now, and I'll tell you why I love them so much. Aside from the fact that it's Star Wars, one of my fondest memories is for those of you not listening,
right? Who
listening
can't see, who are listening in the car right now. I have these Disney Star Wars Oreos.
Yes, you've probably seen them at a Wawa near you. So what they remind me of that I have very, very fond memories of as a child was when, Phantom Menace was coming out in theaters.
Okay.
Or, and this was, I guess, 1998 or something like that, 99 maybe. And Nestle Crunch was my favorite candy bar when I was a kid. And they came out with these Crunch bars with Star Wars scenes on them. So you get a Crunch bar with the Clone Wars droids on them, or with Obi-Wan and stuff. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And so these give me big that vibes because not only do they have the red or the blue cream, but they've got Star Wars characters on the Oreos.
On the Oreos, yeah.
So I'm a big fan.
So for those of you that don't know, they have the dark side versus the light side Oreo cookies, and
the whole box is one or the other, right?
Yeah. So that was the thing. Luckily, Trey went to Walmart on Sunday, and I was like, "Oh, while you're there, pick up the Star Wars Oreos for me." So he's FaceTiming me in the middle of the store because he couldn't find something else. And then he's like, I got the Oreos for you. And then he's looking at it, and on it says, you will get either all blue or all red somewhere. So he said, what should we do? And I said, well, of course you have to get 2 boxes.
What if you got all, did you get all the same?
So then there was a big reveal at home as to what we got. So he opened up the one, and it was it was blue.
We see, yes, nice and
So
blue.
it's blue. And this is what's funny.
It's not even blue, right?
No,
Because
because
it's
like
white on the inside.
yeah, like when
I
you peel
noticed
them
that.
apart on
It's
the inside, it's still white.
yeah,
So
it's just like the outer edges.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, as it's coming out of the tube, they just sprayed the giant tube on the outside one color.
I guess.
So it was very. I would love to know, and I'm sure there's a reason how this is cheaper
I
than making an
honestly
entire blue batch, an entire red
So
batch, and
here's
then an
my
entire
theory, and it
white
could be
batch.
completely wrong because these taste different to me than regular Oreos. So my thought is that the cream is different for the color than it is for the regular, and that the white cream on the inside is the actual cream, and then on the outside put the color
The
cream.
color, so it's like a mix.
Because
Yeah.
this tastes sweeter to me than the actual.
Well, it
cream
also
does.
says somewhere on there that it has kyber crystal sugar
Yes,
pieces in it.
that is how I figured maybe they
Yeah.
justified their weird white in the middle.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that it tastes different to me.
But
than
the
regular Oreos.
blue ones all have
Good guys.
on it. So this one's Luke Skywalker.
I got a
And-
Grievous first thing I got. First one I
Okay.
got was a Grievous.
So I saw on Facebook somebody was like, "Oh, they do have Boba Fett."
So did you get two blue, by the way?
So I open up a blue, and then as I'm opening up the blue, tray opens up, and it was
Oh,
red.
you did get the red.
So we
okay.
got lucky and got
Yeah.
one of each. Darth Maul. Darth Maul looks cool. But I was like, oh, apparently, according to Facebook, like the Boba Fett ones must be harder to find or something because somebody said I got a Boba Fett one. What's the first one Trey pulls out?
Was it a Boba?
Boba Fett. I was like, okay.
And did he then proceed to just eat it?
And then he just
Yeah,
ate
of
it. Yeah,
course. It's
yeah.
like these are really hard to get.
These are really hard to get. So here, I know you apparently like them also. So
Oh,
have that.
well, yeah. I will tear into some of these
have
bad
one
boys.
of these. Yeah. So Luke Skywalker, and then did you see that? There's also the the person that did this, where they
Oh, did they stack them?
they stacked them. So they was like, look, I there's balance in the force
That's
again. So
Who'd I get? I got Grievous again. That's
Grievous.
crazy,
There you
man.
go. First one in again is Grievous.
Nutty stuff. They look good too. It's not like
Yeah.
I figured it'd be kind of a cheesy, crappy design. But
Yeah, no, they did a good job
Yeah.
of designing. And
I imagine it's easier to make a design in chocolate, like a chocolate bar, than it is in a cookie, where
In
you
a-
have to
yeah.
worry about baking it. So
yeah, and there's quite a few of each one. Like I was shocked to see how many cookies there were. Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. Don't watch the film. The next one, Maul and Yoda. It's giving me a hard time. Princess Leia and somebody with a lot of words because it's very small. SM All. Kylo Ren and Rey. Boba Fett R2D2. Grievous and C3PO. Sidious and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Jabba the Hutt and Han Solo.
Jabba.
Stormtrooper and Chewbacca. Doku and Mace Windu. And so that's all of them. By the way, I made the guy's day today at Taco Bell because my username is Chewbacca.
At Taco Bell? So like when you get your food,
when I get my food,
it's not Rob, it's Chewbacca.
Yeah, it's always because I was eating at Five Guys.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to use something like that.
And my name was Robert, and then there was somebody Rob.
Right.
So I was like, oh God, they're going to mix up our orders.
So you just said Chewbacca.
So then I was like, okay.
And
so
from then on,
originally it was Batman.
Okay.
And then at one of the places I went to, they were like, oh, we have another Batman. I'm like, what?
Okay.
Okay. So then I'm like, okay. So then I changed it to Chewbacca.
It's like the Screen Actors Guild. You can't have the same.
Can't have the same name as somebody else. Yeah.
That's why you were Bobby and now you're Rob.
And now I'm Rob. Yeah. So
you registered. Bobby was already taken.
Bobby was taken. So Bobby Brady was taken.
Bobby Boucher.
Bobby Boucher. So then, so I changed it to Chewbacca. So the guy was like, order for Chewbacca?
I love that.
And I'm like, that's me. He goes, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
I don't think I could pull off Chewbacca.
No, you want to be able to pull up.
wee.
You're a little too short. You could do an Ewok of some sort. You could Wicket.
That's an uncalled.
Is that
That's
uncalled for?
for.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will recognize I'm not the tallest dude in the world, but I don't need the Ewok comparison from you. Anyway, yeah, I could probably pull off an Ewok. I don't think, but Wicket is not as someone wouldn't read Wicket and go, everyone knows Chewbacca.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do. I see. For me, it used to be I would go to Wawa and they say like, "You want to pay $1 to write your name on this?"
Oh,
thing
right. Yeah, to stick it on the window.
And it was around when I was in college, so it was like 2007 or so. And so I would always write Harvey Dent.
Okay.
That would be the name I'd put. It was Harvey Dent.
Harvey Dent. That's a good one.
And I do it every time I went. So Wawa got a lot of
Got
donations
a lot of
on me.
yes. I said from now on, I'm going to tell everybody that I am. Who's the sausage king of Chicago?
Oh, Abe Froman.
Abe Froman.
That's right.
Yeah,
I saw that.
If anybody asks me,
Abe Froman.
the Abe Froman, I'm going to tell everybody that and see how many people actually know what it's from.
Yeah,
But
that's a good litmus test for people, especially if you're not sure how old someone is. Just drop the Abe Froman. Be like, if you don't know who Abe Froman is, she's too young for you.
She's too young. Walk away.
That's right.
If she doesn't know Abe Froman, walk away.
If she doesn't know who the sausage king of Chicago is, walk away.
Walk away. It's bad news. All right, so
episode 4.
On to episode 4.
Day. It's called Day, right?
Day.
I think it's called Day.
Daytime, nighttime, tomorrow, today.
I think episode 4 is called Day, which I don't quite get.
I don't get
it. Or
either.
maybe episode 3 was called Day.
So
one of them was called Day. Anyway, episode 4 happened.
Episode 3 was the Witching Hour.
Oh, that was the name of my marching band show this year.
There you go. Look at that.
Look at that.
Disney is.
I should sue Disney for copyright.
Disney's suing you.
Yeah, sure.
Daytime, nighttime suffering.
Interesting.
Is what it says on this website. Let me just make sure on IMDb that it's the same thing. IMDb. But anyway, so this one was.
So I will tell you, this one was a better return to form as far as Star Wars storytelling goes. It wasn't great. It wasn't good even. It was fine. But again, they did one of my least favorite things at the end, where we got like a look, like the merest glimpse of a cool thing happening.
Yeah.
And they were like, stay tuned. And it was very frustrating. So
really cool thing is about to happen, but you're gonna have to wait another.
It was like the same exact frustration on a more small scale that I had at the end of
this just says Day. You were correct.
Yeah. At the end of the Rise or the Force Awakens, you know, when you're waiting the entire damn movie for Luke and they give you just him looking.
Or what's episode 3 when you're waiting, you want to see Anakin turn into Darth Vader. You want to see Anakin get angry.
And it just kind of.
And there's one scene where he's about to kill all of the Tusken Raiders.
Oh, episode 2. Yeah.
Episode 2. And the lightsaber comes up and then you don't see anything.
That's how they keep their PG PG rating.
And I was like, what? That's it?
Yeah.
That was the big so angry.
Yeah. You can't. And it's the same, you know, in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, when he kills the younglings. It's like, well, we can't show child murder in the Disney movie, so I guess we're just going to show the lightsaber igniting.
So speaking of child murder and Game of Thrones, Ryan Airy did a whole big thing about how more people were upset about him kicking the dog
than the sounds of them.
The sound, And
honestly, that's one of those moments I thought I would be outraged too, because I'm always that guy who's like, don't kill the dog, you better not.
Right.
And I do think that House of the Dragon has been great so far, but the CGI on that specific effect was like bad.
Okay.
Like I when I watched it, I was like, that looked so fake. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like, that was clearly they didn't kick that dog.
Right.
And so I'm not gonna be that angry about
and Ryan Airy even said like it was written that way in the book as well. So like if you read the books, you knew that he was going to kick that dog.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny, but he was trying to justify the people being more angry about the dog kicking than the child murder, because the child murder happened off screen, like you said, with Star Wars.
But we had to see the guy kick the dog.
Kick the dog. And everybody was so like, child murder is so heinous that they were just like, but like you don't, nobody wants to kick a dog, you know, like no matter what the dog, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So whatever. But anyway, back to Star Wars.
Yeah, it is bummer because I have a lot to say about that. If only someone had
well, you can be our guest host. Are
you back at it?
Well, we're going to be, because you know it's been 3 years since the first season.
One,
yeah, sure. So we're definitely coming back to it. Once again, you know,
the King's Road podcast, for those
the
of you
King's Road podcast. Yeah. So that will be coming back to you. You should, because our theme song was really bad.
I got to figure out how that would work for like Star Wars is easy. You can use kind of techno-y stuff.
Yeah.
But yours is going to need a little more austere.
We had some kind of like strange music that Kim found, and then I just screamed King's Road over top of it. It was pretty funny.
I'm gonna do some I got
Yeah,
some ideas in
you
my
got
head.
some ideas. So make
So
us some cool stuff.
yeah, so episode 4, we're back to the future.
Back to the Future, 88 miles
We've
an
gunned
hour.
it to 88 in our DeLorean, and the flux capacitor has done its thing.
Flux capacitor is working.
And we get what I would consider more very rushed exposition, and like, we have to go do this. Let's hurry up and go do this. We get a weird shot of Ki-Adi-Mundi that the internet is all very angry about.
That's the other thing everybody's mad
Like,
about.
and like, I saw it and went, oh, that's kind of cool, and it makes sense because like, he's been around for a while. I guess what they're upset about is the fact, so Ki-Adi-Mundi is most notorious for like being very stubborn in his views, and like, in the movies he was very like, oh, I find it very shocking that a Sith could have emerged without us knowing, and he was just like, he was so very wrong.
Right.
And he's kind of become emblematic of like the downfall of the Jedi, and their blind spots and their dogma. So yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen how this goes, so it's too early, I think, to get pissed off about seeing that. I mean,
So everybody's pissed off because clearly in the episodes you can date how old he was in the movies,
right.
because he made a comment of X amount of years old I am now, or something along those lines, and you're able to backtrack it.
You talking Yoda, or you talking Ki-Adi-Mundi?
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Okay.
Well, I said it with a Yoda tone, but
Yeah, that's why.
yeah. At some point, he said something that he was 65 years old or something along those lines
really?
during episode 1 or episode 2, 1 or 2, whatever.
I don't know about this.
So, because he said how old he was in one of those scenes, it would make him not alive for this season, this series.
Yeah, I don't remember him ever. I mean, the only like lines that I can actually, in the movies especially, remember him actually having is the one about the Wookiees on Kashyyyk. Like, he was talking about the droid attack on the Wookiees. And then there was the line about the Sith. He was hard. He find it hard to believe that could happen. I don't remember him having a whole lot of other lines in that.
Yeah. So and then
he got shot by all his clones. I remember that.
Right. So
they made him Swiss cheese.
And then the other thing that people are now really upset about is age of Ki-Adi-Mundi. The now non-canon Star Wars legends established that Ki-Adi-Mundi was 60 years old in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which took place in 32 BBY before the Battle of Yavin in Star Wars timeline. This is from Screen Rant. If you're angry about Ki-Adi-Mundi, the title is, if you're angry about Ki-Adi-Mundi, you'll never believe the first time Star Wars retconned an age. So
yeah, again, I'm just trying to think about what the line was that might have given his age away, and I don't know what it might be. Maybe it was, it might have been, because this happens a lot. It might have been in like the novelization. Maybe. A lot of times you get a lot more detail and a lot more subtext in the novelization, so it might have come from that.
So Ki-Adi-Mundi's age was only ever established in Legends.
Oh, okay. So this was after Episode 1 came out, but was before the Disney buyout.
Right. The Acolyte wasn't actually a retcon. In fact, there have been much larger, more important age-related retcon stars in Star Wars history. One in particular changed the entire Star Wars saga of the Star Wars movies and came from the original trilogy. It somehow didn't inspire the same rage that Ki-Adi-Mundi's age has, though the similarities between the change in appearance in the Acolyte are quite surprising. Luke was originally supposed to be 2 years older than Leia in the original Star Wars, later retitled
That's harder to that's harder to make people believe when they're twins.
When they're twins, yeah. Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa weren't supposed to be related. George Lucas actually intended for them to be love interests, as evident by various romantic kisses Luke and Leia shared in both A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. One of the more subtle signs of that were that they weren't twins came from the official Star Wars trading card game by Topps, seen in a post Big Daddy Yankee, which established that Luke was 2 years older than Leia. So I had these Star Wars
I still have
trading
a bunch
cards.
of them in my office at work. Brian gave me a whole bunch of them my first year at Cinnamon.
Okay, so you'll have to look and see if you have any Luke and Leia ones, because
I will, actually.
The Luke one says age 22, the Leia one says age 20.
Which is funny because I think both of them are supposed to be like 19.
Yeah.
Like now that with the official timeline. So yeah, it's honestly, in the grand scheme of things, there's a lot more things to be annoyed by.
Yes.
I honestly, I saw Kiadi-Mundi, and I, as kind of nerdy as my knowledge on Star Wars is, I did not go, hey, he should not be there. I
Right.
went, oh, Kiadi-Mundi's there.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said, "Oh, cool."
Yeah.
But then the internet exploded
Yeah.
with hatred because,
Because Star
oh, you're
Wars.
changing everything.
Yeah.
Things can't be this way. This is not the way it's supposed to be.
This is not the way.
This is not the way.
So anyway.
So yeah, so he was there, which was cool. I was fine with it. And whatever, people,
Calm down, folks.
calm down.
Calm down.
As you say, it's space wizards.
Yep.
It's not real.
It sure ain't.
It's sure. Now, if I go around telling people I'm only 40, when in fact I'm 50, now that's a different story, because that's not space wizards.
Yeah, sure. But
But I
who
also
you really hurting?
I like this is my new favorite thing. I'm going to tell everybody now what level I am instead
Level
of what
50?
age. I'm level 50.
I like that.
That's a good level to be.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, people strive to get up to level 50.
That's true. In a
Yeah.
lot of places, that's max level.
That's max level.
And once
Boom.
you reach max level, you stop leveling.
Uh-huh.
So,
It was funny. Cameron was like, okay. Because she always says how old. She says it makes me older than I really am. Oh, you're 65. You're so old. Like, no, I'm level 50. And now she's like, oh, yeah, you're level 50. So it's fun.
I like.
So I
I
like
can
it.
see. I can see her saying that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she was saying. So yeah, so this was a huge upset in the Star Wars faniverse of people who want to be angry about
They'll get
things
over it.
that don't matter.
That's mainly Star Wars fans.
Yes.
As
So
as we sit here yelling about things that make us angry.
make us angry.
Um,
So yeah, so Kiadi-Mundi's not supposed to be there, but he is. So who
Yeah.
cares? Deal with it.
So they go off on their quest. They decide we need to capture your sister, and she's like, "No, I won't help you." And he's like, "But you need to do it." And he's very clearly like, again, it's annoying because he's very clearly hiding something. It's like, "Oh, I guess they're dangling this carrot.
Yeah.
Why is he acting so weird?"
I do like the fact that he learned English for this part.
Yeah. Did he
Which
did he
was-
learn it specifically for this
Yeah,
part?
like he didn't speak
didn't know
English
that.
at all. Yeah.
He's doing it.
He's
I
done
didn't realize. Yeah, he's doing
Yeah,
a good job.
doing a great job.
But no, so then they go out on this thing with this strike force. Vernestra Rowe, again, we get more info from Vernestra Rowe about being involved in all this, and I'm in the process of reading the most recent book that came out just like a week ago in the High Republic era, which is set about 100 years before this or so.
Okay.
And Vernestra's in it, so again, it's weird, and maybe we figure out why, but like she's very different now than her character was in the books.
Oh, really?
Very like her. I mean, in the books, she's young. She's like the youngest she's the youngest Jedi Knight ever at this point, and I think she becomes the youngest Jedi Master ever.
Okay. This is
the green lady, bald lady.
Oh, the green bald lady.
Yeah.
Okay. And she had hair and stuff.
I don't know in the books. I don't know. But like in the books, she's very like rebellious, and she's like a precocious young kid, and she's like very, she goes by the different and she's like, I don't know, she's very interested in not necessarily the things that this Vernestra Rowe is like. This one seems very like, we got to keep things under wraps. We don't want a political drama. We don't want to, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's not, doesn't remind me of
her
either
younger.
her character went through some stuff that drastically changed her, or else they just pulled the character and did some
and
weird,
just did.
Hey, she exists. Let's use her for
create
this.
Yeah, to create, and didn't find out what the book said that she would be.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd imagine they probably did better homework than that, but we'll see. Again, that's what I feel like. I feel like everything we're getting is just these drips and drabs. If this doesn't seem right, I hope they explain this.
Right.
But they go off on their quest, and we see that May has like had a second change of heart, and she's like, I'm not going to be a bad guy anymore. I'm going to be a good guy.
Yeah.
To the guy who is just, maybe I'm wrong, but he seems to be so very clearly the bad guy.
so there's two different, and I keep throwing out our Snoke theory, but people aren't buying that one. So there are two different strong opinions on who the big baddie is. They're leading us down the path that it's the kid from
New or Happy or
a Good Place.
Good Place.
Yeah. Because he is such a bumbling idiot in this.
Yeah.
And
he is clearly hiding something. Like there's moments where you're like, you're not saying everything, you're holding back.
Yeah, like she's like, how did you find your way through this jungle? He goes, oh, I did it last time.
Yeah, it's just but it could just be a very good red herring. Like, hey, this is the guy, right? Nope. So who's the other guy who people think that
The other
might
one
be
that everybody thinking is the other mother, the Darth Maul,
the Zabrak?
the Zabrak mom, is because we didn't see her body
Right.
when all the other witches were burned in the fire. That
Maybe she
l-
fell too,
yeah, she could have fallen
and
as well.
May lived. So
May lived, so maybe she fell, stopped herself right before, and then May fell on top of her, used her as a
that's
trampoline. So
it.
that's how they
That's
both
how.
survived. Yeah,
That's it.
but you don't see her in that room that clearly all the Jedi went in and killed them all.
Right.
But we don't know that
Right.
because there's no burn marks on anybody. But I don't know if anybody could see lightsaber burn marks or not or whatever. But that's what that is alluding to, is that the Jedi killed them all, which is why they're the bad guys. Um, so that's the other theory, is that it's the other mother
Right.
is the big baddie.
I don't know. I didn't heard that. I don't know that I know I don't love that. I don't know that it's supported by a whole lot, but we'll see.
Okay.
What I do
Well, a lot of
like,
fan theories aren't supported
that's
by a
true.
whole lot.
That's true. What I do
Just the
like
ones
the
that shout
idea
the
of,
most.
yes, the idea that I've heard that I like the most is that the way this is going, and God willing, who knows, it gets really good and they actually want to make another season of it. But they can continue to serialize this differently every season, is that, the Acolyte, because the way the Sith order has progressed since the Rule of Two started is, you have a master and apprentice, and the only way it changes is when the apprentice kills the master and becomes the master.
Right.
And so the thought is that each one of these seasons could be about an acolyte, and that acolyte is the person who the apprentice is searching for to be their apprentice when they become the master.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that maybe like the big bad we're getting here isn't actually the Sith master. He's the Sith apprentice, and he's trying to recruit like May or someone to then off his master and continue the Rule of Two.
Okay. So the definition of an acolyte is a person ascending the celebrator. Oh, hold on, I need my glasses.
Get out your readers.
My readers. A person assisting the celebrant in a religious service or procession.
Assisting the
Assisting.
celebrant.
Yes. So
what is a celebrant?
a celebrant is a person
who
who
performs
performs
a
a
rite.
rite, especially a priest at the Eucharist.
So yeah, someone who assists them, but
Right.
the person who they're assisting is the one who's actually like involved. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So again, it could kind of go with that. You have the celebrant, or the person who is a part of the Sith cult at this point, essentially, and he's using this acolyte for their own means in order to
Yeah.
do whatever they can in order to kill their master and become the master.
Because and also, like, she keeps saying, and what's his name? I want to say Johnny. Johnny is his real name, I think.
I don't know.
But he keeps saying also to
Chidi?
Chidi. No, Chidi was the other guy. Anyway, he keeps saying, like, don't forget, you have to kill one of these Jedi
Right.
without. And now this is another one where we finally see what we want to see. We finally see a Jedi Wookiee.
Right.
We want to see how awesome a Jedi Wookiee is going to be.
Nah. Let's just slice him right down the front.
And we kill him before he even does anything.
Yep. And there was all this talk before the episode coming out about, what could she possibly do to kill a Wookiee, let alone a Jedi Wookiee,
yeah,
without a weapon, and all of that went to nothing because
she didn't. And now the other, if
Kelnaka is the guy's name, the Wookiee,
Jedi
Master Kelnaka.
What's the Manny Jacinto is Kumar, whatever. Kumar, Howard and Kumar go to White Castle. You go to Narshada. Oh, Narshada.
One day we'll get actual. They'll be in Narshada. We'll see it.
We'll see it. We'll see the lights of Narshada, and we'll know the neon lights of Narshada.
That's right. Neon Lights of Narshada sounds like a cool jazz album.
Yes.
Released in Coruscant.
In Coruscant, yeah. Right. There you go. You should with who's the guy on the piano, the the ones that were playing at Jabba's
Oh,
palace.
that's gonna annoy the hell out of me. Anyway,
Anyway,
I'll remember it.
yeah, but anyway, yeah, Manny. So in the episode, they said it 2 or 3 times. Don't forget, there's only 2 Jedi left, and you have to kill one of them without using any powers or
Max
without
Rebo.
using Max Rebo, Max
Thank
Rebo in
you.
the set, Max Rebo 7.
Yeah.
You have to kill one of them without using any weapons, and then he hears the noise and runs off,
Yep.
and she goes in, and he's dead, and of course,
Well, doesn't she trap him? Doesn't she lay a trap for him that like hangs him upside down or something?
who, Manny?
Yeah, like, and then that's when she says, "I'm not doing this anymore." Or am I crazy? Did that not happen?
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
thought he got like lifted up by his foot or something. He was dangling upside down.
Well, because he ran off, and then maybe when he ran off, he got trapped or something
I
like
thought,
that.
and I thought that's when she would laid on him like, "Oh, I'm not going with you. I'm going to do the
Right,
thing. I'm
and
going to
then
turn him in."
right,
And then she goes away, and we don't see him again. And so, like, my thought is she goes away, and he's like, "Haha." Okay, he gets himself down, and then he goes and does.
and he
his
goes
thing.
and does his
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, because that's another. His whole character is the red herring of
Right.
like, as soon as he disappears, you know that he went and killed him and then came back.
Right.
So that's what they're alluding to, and then that's when we see the leader, the one with the helmeted guy, come down.
The helmet is pretty radical.
The helmet is pretty
he
rad.
like floats down.
He did
too.
float down, yeah.
Like, it was really, again, it was a moment where I was like, "Oh, this is weird and dark and a little
Mhm.
scary," and I'm excited.
And I'm excited, and then it goes right to a
Yeah.
commercial.
And he like
right
takes his
right to
lightsaber
credits ending.
out, and that's cool. And then he like does the thing we saw in the trailer where like he all this like gas and
Mhm.
horsepower rush forward, and it looks like, oh, it's going down it.
Nope, it's not.
And I like literally, as I was watching it with Pagan again, it stopped, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah. Oh,
Like-
100%. 100%. It's like, come on, like give us something. Like, I don't want all this to build up to just one fight scene
Yeah.
at the end. Like, I want a Luke almost gets defeated by Darth Vader, fight scene ends, they escape. I want a Rocky gets beat by Clubber Lang the first time,
Right.
and then trains and then comes back and beats him a second time.
Right.
I don't want it just to be one fight at the end. I want to see the lead up to it, the build up to it. I want
Right.
it to be better.
Yep. And they're not doing it.
And they're not doing it. So yes. So whatever.
So that they left us on that cliffhanger.
They
right?
left
We're
us on that
with,
cliffhanger.
"Hey, we killed the Wookiee."
Which
there's
means
the
now we're
bad
gonna have
guy.
another flashback.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing, is I know like next episode's going to be all flashback.
Right.
So like that really cool thing they set up us for, I have
We're not
no
gonna see for 2
thoughts of-
weeks
yeah.
at the most.
I
Yeah.
have, like, I would be shocked if we saw that.
Yeah.
Like, completely shocked.
Yeah. No.
So again, it's just like one of the bummers about the way they're choosing to do the storytelling is
Yeah.
like
It's not.
keeping us on a rope. It's
No.
like give us good stuff and I will want to watch the next thing.
Right. And
Don't like give me the promise of something interesting next episode. And then like, okay, here's that interesting thing. Now here's a whole bunch of crap for 25 minutes before we give you another thing to look
yeah.
forward to.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the picture was.
Plus the damn
Okay.
song. Anyway,
This song, yeah. So somebody posted a picture of the next Lego Star Wars character, and it was Leslie Headland. And I didn't get it. I think they were making fun of her not being attractive.
I don't know who Leslie Headland is.
She's the creator of the Acolyte.
Oh, yeah, I don't know who
Because
that
I
is.
just like looked up who she's the producer, writer, director of the Acolyte.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's listed as creator and writer. So I was excited when they had different creators, and Filoni and Favreau weren't really associated with it, because not that their stuff is getting old now, but they're trying to intertangle everything so much that they're really trying to impress us who know more than the average person. So I was
Right.
like, oh, these are new people. It'll be a good story. But unfortunately, it's not that great of a story.
It isn't.
It isn't. It's a shame.
It is.
Talking about books, though,
Yeah.
I'm reading.
I saw the Royal Guard book, right? I saw you reading a book on Be Real.
Oh yeah, no,
Guards or
well,
something.
it's the Jedi, Return of the Jedi, from a certain point of
Ah,
view.
and that was the chapter
That
I
was a
guess you were
chapter in
on.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. But there was one chapter, one story, which was really cool. And I actually tweeted the author because it was a fun
You
story.
still tweet, huh?
Or not tweet. I
You Instagram them?
Instagrammed her. Yeah. She can't believe I got to see my name in a Star Wars book, making history with my favorite Star Wars movie. Stories about a guy that no one actually cares about. Yeah, the stormtroopers way at the back of the hangar, the unit that hangs around every time some dignitary pops by to see the Death Star. He's just some little guy, but who knows? Even the little guy can make a big difference.
Hmm.
So it was a really fun story the way she wrote it, because it was all just sections of his, basically like his diary.
Okay.
So it was like the first day I got on the Death Star, and it was listed like DS-II for Death Star 2.
Right.
He's like, day one, got here, really excited to find out what I'm going to be doing. And then day 3, oh, I'm the guy that's going to be standing here. We found out that we're not allowed to pee. We're not allowed to sit down. We could be
Great.
sitting here for 4 or 5 hours at a time, just waiting for someone to show up. And they going through a whole bunch of different things. Um, and so I wrote to her, this is the most creative story in the book. I love how it was written and how his story and how written and his story on DS2. And there's a droid in it that bothers them all the time, R2Q9. He has like a personal vendetta against the main character in her story.
Okay.
She said he's constantly like he would go real fast right next to him and like run over his foot, or he's constantly locking his door to his bunk so he
Okay.
can't get into it. He's like, one time I was walking down in the shower from the shower, I just had a towel on and I couldn't get into my room because R2Q9 locked me out again.
Great.
And so it was really cute. It was really fun. So yeah, so I sent her a message, a DM on Instagram, and told her how much fun it was. So it was a good book. I have questions for you,
Okay.
actually. I wrote down some notes. Uh, okay, this is the biggest one for me. I'm very confused about
Okay.
the Death Star.
I've heard of it.
It's round.
Yes.
It's the size of a moon, a
Yes.
small moon. All Star Wars ships have their own gravity. Otherwise,
People would be floating.
people would be floating the whole time.
Yeah.
So there was an episode
You
when
talking about, does it do this or does it do this?
that's the question about the Death Star is, does it do this or does it do
right.
this?
And for those not like watching right yet, so the question revolves around, is the gravity such that on the Death Star, the central core is where the gravity comes from, and everyone just kind of is on like a globe,
Like a
or
globe.
else are there levels?
Yeah.
And like the top of the Death Star versus the bottom, and there's like, so that's a good question.
Yeah,
I would
so-
imagine it's that way.
So I would imagine it would go from the bottom up in straight lines.
Right.
But if it's that big, because like think of now I'm trying to make
I think you're thinking
space
science
wizards,
fiction,
science
and
fiction,
not
and
fantasy,
yeah,
right?
because our International Space Station spins around this way, so
Right.
it forms its own gravity.
Right.
So if you have a giant circular object and it's spinning, it would make its own gravity, and you would have everything round.
Maybe
with
it's not spinning.
all the floors. It must not be spinning,
Yeah.
because how could it shoot its beam if it's constantly turning?
Right. Yeah.
Because it would be like, I'm coming
And
back
it,
around.
like, it has a front and a back, right?
Yeah.
Because it has like a hyperdrive.
It has a hyperdrive.
So like when it goes in hyperspace, it's got to be one part of it is going
yeah,
forward,
got
right?
going that way.
It's not like it's like
yeah, it's not. Yeah. So I
um,
guess by us figuring this out, that it's got to
it's got
go
to be that way. I feel
floor 1 through 999
like. Billion.
billion.
Like
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know. This Death Star 2 especially. I mean,
Right.
that bad
Yeah,
boy
because that
big.
was all jagged on the one side because they weren't finished it, and it was even bigger. So it's even more floors.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I guess maybe because they were in space, but like, do you remember the scene when the Millennium Falcon attached to the back? I guess it was the backside.
Yep.
Of the Star Destroyer or whatever, and it was
Mhm.
hiding back there.
Yep.
They weren't leaning back. They were still able to like walk
Right.
around normal.
Yeah. So and the Falcon was turned off, right? Because they were trying to conserve power and not like let.
Yeah,
them
so you would think if you turn it off, that your
and
fake
the-
gravity would turn off also.
So you would think that not that they would fall because they're still in
They're in space, but
space, but that they
they
would
should
be
start
floating
floating.
around a little
Yeah.
bit. Although, so here's the thing: is that zero G is created by spinning or falling, right? Because really,
Well,
when
when
you're
you're
doing that, when you're floating, it's you're floating because you're in free fall, and that's essentially what any orbit is a free fall. So maybe because they're not in an orbit and they're not free falling, they won't float because they're just stationary
okay.
in outer space. I don't know, man.
I
Again,
don't know.
I think we're just
I think we're confusing
science
science
fiction and
fiction with
fantasy. Yeah,
yeah
yeah.
with
I think we
real.
need to remember the power of one, two, and many.
And then
Unfortunately,
we need to find that song just for
it's
you.
just for me.
All right. Well, we've dug deep into many important topics here,
It's free real estate.
which is that episode 3 and 4 weren't very good.
Not our cups of tea.
Halfway through,
Yeah, I'm not the most optimistic.
Book of Boba Fett. How many episodes was that?
I think it was 10. But the big problem with that too is 2 of those at least were not. They were Mandalorian episodes. You know what I mean? They
Right.
didn't
Yeah.
even have Boba Fett in them.
The two best ones were
Yep.
Mandalorian episodes. Episodes.
Oh, we can hear the computer fan.
Yeah.
Your
Oh no,
computer's
this only
really
had
working hard.
7 episodes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. So Book of
Wow.
Boba
So
Fett.
7 episodes and 2 of them were Mandalorian. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. All right. So we're halfway through this.
It's
I
gonna
think-
have to do some serious stepping up of its game if it's going to want to come out the other end a solid show.
Right. I can assume that we both agree that of all the Disney Plus shows, Book of Boba Fett was the worst.
Yes. This is not far behind.
This is not far behind.
No.
Halfway through, I almost don't care.
Yeah. And you talked about this last week too, about, that feeling when The Mandalorian first came out of, I got to watch this.
I got to
right
watch
away.
it.
And I was just talking about this to Pagan too. It's like, I don't feel this way about
No.
any Star Wars anymore.
No.
It's I'm like, usually on a Wednesday or Thursday, I'll say, oh, we got to watch this.
We got to watch it.
Or else I'll get a text from you. I'm like, oh shoot, we got to watch this.
Yeah.
We got to record. Because I'm just, I'm never just like, oh, I gotta get it. I gotta watch right now because I'm gonna be missing something if not.
And the more I think about it, going back to the Mandalorian, they're making the Mandalorian movie.
Mm-hmm.
So 1.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever it'll be. Like the best thing in the Mandalorian was like season 1 because they were going on all these different adventures. Every episode it was something different.
Mm-hmm. Which, and I have been digging in a little more about some of these things, and that is a lot more like these old westerns and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of those 1950s and 1960s TV shows had, season arcs.
Right.
They had, you had old western show. Every episode was like we've talked about with The Mandalorian, this individual thing, and maybe there was like over the season there was like a large arc that might happen, but like there wasn't like this, we're doing this and then we'll wait till next episode. It was all just, here's our story.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's at a start. It's got a middle and it concludes.
Right.
And it's wrapped up.
It's
and
wrapped
that's
up
how stories
nicely.
are told.
Yeah.
Versus this, drip. And that's part of the problem too, is they're releasing it in drips and drabs.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling this is going to read a lot better as one product.
And I would love for them to do like what they did with The Godfather, where they put The Godfather in a special chronological order instead of the flashback of Godfather 3, which took place before 1 and 2 or whatever it was. I forget how it went.
Well, 2 had the flashbacks.
Okay. So
3
2
just sucked.
Yeah, 3 did suck. But 2, so there was one, it was like a limited edition DVD set.
Yeah, it was the I forget what they called it. They released it on HBO Max. I remember it was a big thing because Peg and I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, or instead of, because in 2 they would have present day, then past, but they just kind of they stitched it together.
They stitched it all together.
So that scenes from the second movie started
before the first
movie.
Yeah. So I think this, for my viewing pleasure, now I may be one of the few that don't like this style, but I would like this rather just see it instead of a little bit now and then flashbacks. Just do all the flashbacks first and then just get to present day.
Well, it's the same thing. Did you watch Arrested Development?
Yeah.
Because so when season 4 came out, they originally released it as individual episodes were like dedicated to specific characters. So this was Job's episode, and this was
when they were all
Michael's
in the
episode.
same scene.
Yeah,
but it was
and
all the different
yeah,
views of it.
and so like episode 3, you'd see scenes from episode 1,
Uh-huh.
but you'd be getting this different
From the
perspective,
opposite side.
and
Yeah,
it was confusing.
it was
It was
very
hard
confusing.
to follow, and
Yeah,
so like a couple of years later, they literally re-edited it
yeah.
and re-released it, and it's so much better.
It
Just
was
just when you're seeing it more straightforward as
Yeah.
opposed to just like
it
this
it,
pieced together
it
thing.
did take 4 or 5 episodes to realize what they were doing,
Yeah.
because you're like, wait,
Didn't I just see
I
this?
just saw the scene. Why am I seeing it again?
Did I
Like,
press the wrong
yeah.
button? Am I watching? Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But I did give them a lot of credit, and it was drastically different than the rest of Arrested Development.
Mhm.
And the rest of Arrested Development was amazingly written.
Yeah.
This was a whole different, amazingly written concept.
Right. Just different from
Just different,
everything
and
they'd done.
people weren't ready for it.
Right.
People weren't ready for that type of a thought process. Because I did like seeing, like, now thinking about it, like you would go back and watch episode 1 and you could see Job in the background, knowing
Right.
that in episode 3 now it's Job's view from the same
Yeah.
story. I was like, wow, that took a lot of writing.
Yeah. Or when like Tobias was the he was the guru in India. You don't find that out until much later, and
Yeah.
if you watch again, you're like, oh, that's Tobias. This
Oh,
whole
that's
time.
yeah. So like that, it was fun, but it was also, if you weren't ready to really think about, because the rest of Development
that's
wasn't
Arrested
a show
Development.
that you really need to think about.
Well, you don't, but then it rewards you for doing that, though,
Right,
too. 'Cause
yeah.
it was a very smart writing. Too.
Yes.
Unlike the
Unlike the
Acolyte.
Acolyte.
Anyway, with that delightful notion,
That is right.
we will be back at you, hopefully with some less salty comments, but we'll do our part if they do theirs.
If they do theirs,
In the meantime, send us a holler. Let us know what you thought.
tell us how whelmed you are.
Like, comment, subscribe, smash that like button.
Smash that like
Share
button.
us with your friends.
And don't forget, we are your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast.
That's right. Make sure you call your favorite podcaster and tell them to listen to us, so that we don't get sued by your podcaster for false advertisement.
That's right.
But that's all. That's all we've said. That's all we're gonna say. And I have freaking spoken.
We have spoken. Whelmed.